Bum, da da da, da da da, down. The Half-Life 2 RTX demo is out, containing the levels of both Ravenholm and Nova Prospect, giving this legendary game a modern makeover with modern technology, showing off the potential of all of this NVIDIA mumbo jumbo, whatever. It has an acronym, so you know it's good. And while things aren't perfect, they are very promising. We don't know when the game's official release is gonna be, but we can probably estimate that it's gonna be sometime soon, hopefully this year. But do you want to know about another game that is completely out, fully released, and brings another Half-Life game into the modern day?
Here at the Black Mesa Research Facility, our first-rate associates have always designed, developed, and manufactured specialized equipment for an amazing array of advanced scientific disciplines.
Black Mesa. It had its official release several years ago, and, in my opinion, is still one of the best fan projects and best game remakes of all time. I especially love its music, and you know what? Even though its music isn't necessarily upbeat, and it kind of clashes with the goofy music that I usually use for my backgrounds, I'm gonna use Black Mesa music for the rest of this video. There you go. Perfection. God, this is so cringy. Black Mesa is a triumph. It truly brings the classic game of Half-Life 1 into the modern day. But with all the polish and improvements that Black Mesa brings, it's still a project that was more or less hindered by an old game engine, and thus restricted by all the technical limitations of the Source 1 engine. Black Mesa is still an amazing video game, but I would say that it's despite of the limitations of its game engine. However, this new game, Half-Life 2 RTX, also runs on the Source 1 engine, albeit with a ton of new tech and technology, and it also has the benefit of being built from the ground up with all of this new fancy tech in mind. Whereas Black Mesa, for all of its glory, is most definitely a messy bunch of spaghetti code that's held together by 15 years of community work. That doesn't diminish the overall quality of Black Mesa, not at all.
Thanks a lot, Black Mesa.
But what I'm trying to say is that Half-Life fan projects are moving forward. They're becoming more complex, more advanced. And with this new Half-Life RTX demo and its inevitable full release, will this serve as a harbinger of things to come? New projects and content that we can expect from third-party or maybe even official Half-Life releases? We can only hope. So join me, Internet Wanderer, as I talk about this new fan game and what it could mean for the future of Half-Life fan projects and Half-Life games in general. Hello and welcome, Internet Wanderer. My name is Argonax. I make video reviews, essays, commentaries, and shorts. I hope you enjoy my content enough to do the YouTube thing, such as liking and subscribing, and special thanks to all the channel members to who I am extremely grateful for their support. Their contributions mean the world to me, and it helps keep the channel going. But enough of that, let's get back to the topic at hand. So, Half-Life fan remakes and remasters. For this video, I'm mostly referring to projects that are trying to be as faithful to their respective original games as possible. Fan spin-offs are good, and there's a vast ocean of them. Many of them are purposely trying to be different from their original game, and that's completely fine. In fact, some of the best community games out there diverge greatly from the original Half-Life 1 and 2. Brutal Half-Life, Afraid of Monsters, Cry of Fear.
Come on.
Divine Cybermancy, the Entropy Zero games, and of course, the best fan game of all, version 1.0 of Hunt Down the Freeman.
He told me. Don't do it. Mitch, please.
You betrayed me. You used me. You fucked up my face. And now...
No, don't do it. Mitch, please. Don't do it. I can explain.
You have my permission to die.
I'm a virgin. No.
Both Black Mesa and Half-Life 2 RTX fall under these third-party fan games. And currently, Half-Life 2 RTX is the big thing on the block that everyone's talking about, putting a lot of that into this. Pretty self-explanatory. That being said, can we expect a Black Mesa RTX? That's like a remaster of a remake. We're hitting levels of recycling that shouldn't be possible. That being said, people will definitely give it a try. I remember that there were videos years back of people trying to add RTX into the OG Half-Life. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was Half-Life 1 and Quake that were some of the earliest experiments into this whole adding RTX into old games. games. And speaking of games, Black Mesa is one of my favorite first-person shooter and single-player games of all time. My hot take is that it's the best way to experience the Half-Life 1 experience? Redundant. That being said, the OG Half-Life 1 still holds up, for the most part. Feel free to disagree with me, but I just think that Black Mesa does it better. And Black Mesa had its development started all the way back in 2004. And it's shifted leadership so many times, it's like the game equivalent of the ship of Theseus. So many different developers and fans adding and taking out bits and pieces of work across the years. It's a miracle that this game even came out in the first place. And it's a good thing that it did. In my opinion, Black Mesa is the gold standard for both fan projects and game remakes. I've heard a lot about this Final Fantasy remake. I don't know, never played it, must be a small indie company. When Black Mesa fully released in 2020, it was a good sign for fan creators because it showed that Valve Games is really the perfect breeding ground for player-made content, which includes new games. And to me, it looks like this Half-Life 2 RTX is the next big step. For those unaware, Black Mesa is a remake, Half-Life 2 RTX is a remaster, and sort of a remake at the same time. Black Mesa was completely built from the ground up, with all of the game assets, music, and voice acting, while being inspired by the OG Half-Life 1, is all original. Whereas Half-Life 2 RTX only swaps out the game models and improves the game lighting. I think it has something to do with the RTX in the title. And while we're talking about RTX, which by the way stands for real-time ray tracing, in other words, makes in-game lighting as realistic as possible, kinda like the buggy mess that is the real world. I'm fairly informed about all of the Half-Life 3 and Half-Life X rumor circles. I've heard all sorts of reports from the vast array of Half-Life fans. And so far, I haven't actually heard about anything regarding RTX features in any new Valve releases. It seems like Valve is just not interested in adding this new graphical feature into their games. And honestly, I think it's for the best. RTX is a very demanding feature, and no amount of engine optimizing will make this tech any more accessible yet. With time, it eventually will be. Hell, Half-Life 3 might take so long to come out that by the time it does, your smart fridge might have RTX in it. Valve could maybe add RTX features at some time in the future. I doubt it, since that's more development time on a graphical feature that Valve has never expressed any interest in. And besides, the Source 2 engine already looks good as is. It's capable of some amazing visuals. And brute forcing RTX doesn't really seem necessary, since art style and art direction can make a game look better using far less resources. You want proof? Back in 2004, compare Half-Life 2 and Doom 3. Doom 3 is technically the more advanced game, especially under the hood, when you take into account all of that real-time lighting and shading and reflections, which was a major selling point of that game. Whereas Half-Life 2 had better textures, physics, and facial animations, and just animations in general, compared to Doom 3's rah-rah-rah-rah-rah.
All they want is something to make them more money, some product.
Put it simply, I truly believe video games are art. And just like art, sometimes less is more. Besides, Valve knows their fans well enough that we're all gonna mod RTX into the games in the future anyway. Todd would be so proud.
16 times the detail. I'm not kidding.
As for the demo itself, I played a decent amount of it, and well, it's definitely cool. My computer isn't the beefiest thing in the world, but I was able to run the thing on medium settings with some frame dips every now and then. It looks very good. The remade assets are incredibly high quality. I will never get tired of seeing RTX do its thing, and honestly, it's just a visual treat. That being said, there are some inconsistencies. For example, RTX lighting has never been the fastest to update in real time. Whenever an explosion or a flash of light happens, the light rays seem to always appear and disappear a second or two slightly slower than they should. Of course, there's ghosting effects because of how the DLSS frame generation works. That's just an RTX thing in general. Another thing is that the gravity gun seems to forget that it's supposed to glow. Sometimes it shines and reflects on the surrounding areas, and sometimes it doesn't. The left click of the gravity gun, you know, the punt thing, it doesn't seem to give off any light, which I found to be rather strange. Some of the particle effects, like the blood decals and the sparks that you can make when when you hit the crowbar on a metallic surface seem to be a little low res or maybe haven't been optimized for this new game yet. The game is currently sitting at a mixed rating on Steam, with most of the complaints talking about the performance and some jank here and there. One of the ones that I agree with the most is the fact that in the first-person guns seem to clip into the walls, but of course there's still time for the final product to be better. And honestly, that's just what I hope for this game, to be better. Because I genuinely believe when this game is fully released, it will serve as a stepping stone for new fan projects in Half-Life or just Valve games in general. Perhaps maybe we can see a Black Mesa successor at some point. I know that they're doing Black Mesa games now for the Half-Life 1 expansions, but can we expect to see a Black Mesa style remake for Half-Life 2? Half-Life 2 RTX will be the sign that it's coming. Which is also what I did to your mom last night. Thanks for watching, Internet Wanderer. Do the YouTube things.